Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about my experience with a man who a lot of us know to be a sexual predator as well as highly abusive. I originally posted all the parts of this video on TikTok, but unfortunately someone removed because he kept reporting them, and I was also advised to take them down because they did have some information that made him identifiable. I've made the decision to re-upload all of these parts to my YouTube channel to bring awareness to the behaviours of not only this predator but other predators just like him, and hopefully to help other women come forward or potentially empower them to speak out or seek help. As I said previously, I won't be identifying this individual, but if you know who I'm talking about, then you know who I'm talking about. If you've been affected by this individual, then please don't hesitate to contact me. Trigger warning, I am going to be referencing assault and DV against women. I don't think I'm going to go into graphic detail. I could potentially say something triggering. It's mind-blowing to me that someone like him would have the audacity to still be trying to be famous and still be trying to be a rapper, knowing full well what he's done to so many women. I'll start off with how I actually met this. On the 26th of September 2019, I was minding my business, taking my daughter to school. At the time, my youngest was 1 year old, so I was carrying her in my arms, and I was about to cross the road, and this car just pulls up in front of me like it's an emergency. This waste man, that waste man was driving a car. So he's pulled up like, oh my God, I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you. And I'm thinking, do I know this person? And the way he's talking to me is like he knows me and something's happened and he needs to tell me quickly. So I've got like a million things racing through my mind. But the main thing was I need to take my kid to school. So I just aired him off and I just carried on walking. He does a U-turn in his car and pulls up outside the school and he's like, no, I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. And I just take my daughter to school. Leave the school and he's still parked outside. At this point, I'm just with my youngest daughter who's a baby. I asked him what's happened, what's the issue, and he's like, no, I really need to talk to you. Can I get a number? And I'm like, really? I just carried on walking. And I was like, nah, sorry. This guy jumps out of his car and he follows me basically to where I live. At the time, I didn't live far from the school. He's trying to get my number. I've told him no like a million times. I told him I have a man, loads of stuff that I shouldn't even have to do. And he starts saying that he wants me to be a video model for him. Again, I told him I'm not interested, but he is not taking no for an answer and he's putting mad pressure on me. He was trying to intimidate me. So now, because I'm not giving this man my number, he's starting to get aggressive. He basically says that I'm not going anywhere until I give him my number. Bearing in mind, this is a tall don, you know. He's like 6'3", he's tall, yeah? I'm 5'2", I'm short, and I'm carrying my baby in my arms. I don't remember everything he was saying, but it's like he was trying to bully me into giving him my number. One thing about me is, unfortunately, I've had to deal with a lot of men that are just like him. I grew up in an area that was basically covered with rapists and men that like to attack women and little girls, just them type of guys. So unfortunately, I know how to deal with these types. Acting like a victim does not work. So at this point, I just knew he was a rapist. I got that energy from him and my intuition is never wrong. So at that point, I basically tried to bad him up. I might be living good little mummy lifestyle now, but please do not get it twisted. I can get it cracking. And he was kind of taken back by it. Like, you can tell that that's not normally the response that he gets. Like, I could tell that he normally like really intimidates women. But even though I was trying to bad him up, in my head, I was just thinking, if this man attacks me right now, I'm holding my baby. Like, me personally, for my own life, I can handle myself. I can swing. But my daughters are my biggest concern. These are my babies. I need to protect them. That was the main thought in my head. So at this point, I'm trying to make it seem like I live somewhere different to where I actually live. But he ain't leaving. He's not leaving me alone. So in the end, I was just like, do you know what? Fine. Just take my socials. Straight away, he starts messaging me on my Snapchat and on my Instagram. I basically just entertained some small talk, yeah, just to be polite, because I'm just thinking, I can tell that he's tapped, yeah. I don't want him turning up at my daughter's school, and I don't want him turning up near my yard. Even though if he was to turn up near my house, it's going to be a problem for him. At the same time, I do not ever want to put my children in a position where they have to witness me fighting or witness me defending myself, witness a man attacking their mother. So I'm just giving him a couple responses here and there, but it's just enough so he doesn't try to turn up at my house again, because I can tell he's one of those types. He starts trying to get me to meet him. All right, so I'm going to have to cut out some details just because I'll end up making way too many parts, and there's more to this story than just my experience with him. But long story short, this waste man starts trying to convince me to meet up with him. He's trying to be nice. I decline his offers, so he starts trying to make out like he wants to meet me for business. Long story short, I decline, and he tells me I can't decline. Eventually, he says, fine, he's just going to see me, the KA. He's going to turn up outside my house or outside my kids' school, which were basically right next to each other. So throughout this time, I'd really tried to be as polite as I could, as much as I really just wanted to tell him to go F off. I was trying to be polite because I didn't want to give this man any reason to turn up outside my kids' school. But by this point, I had enough. So I was just like, so you're going to start being a stalker, yeah? And that was it for him. Like, he went off. He starts saying that I grew up with his cousin in Loughborough and da-da-da-da-da. You know, like trying to say things to make me feel intimidated as if he knows me. I didn't grow up with his cousin in Loughborough. I didn't even grow up in Loughborough. He's just chatting shit. He's trying to mind fuck me. It was clear that these are the type of tactics that he uses to force women into submission and to force women to meet up with him and to do whatever else he wants them to do. I was not about to play that foolishness with him. So at this point, I basically told him about himself. This is a few years ago. If it was now, I would have just blocked him from time before that. I wouldn't have even entertained the conversation, but, you know, I was young. So he basically starts trying to cuss me, and I post on my Snapchat saying something like, tell me rape culture ain't real when guys are out here trying to intimidate women into meeting up with them, or something along them lines. He was not happy about that, and he flipped out. He started threatening to come and blow my head off, as well as a whole bunch of other threats saying he was gonna come to my house right now. So at this point, I blocked him on Snapchat, and he starts sending me mad messages on Instagram. I'm gonna put up some screenshots of the messages, and you lot can pause to read them because it's long for me to get through. There's a lot of messages. He also starts messaging me off a different account, pretending to be his cousin. This Don is tapped. So at this point, this guy's messaging me off bare fake accounts, like a few of them. Every time I block one, he messages me off a new one, cussing me, threatening me, saying he's going to turn up at my kid's school. He even sends me his phone number, and yeah, that is his phone number. So when he's threatening to come and do me something, I basically said, come then. Do it if you're bad. Pause the video to read the screenshots. I'm not going to put everything because there's a lot of messages, but I'll just put up the key stuff. So here is where it gets kind of funny. I find it kind of hilarious because it is pathetic. This sends me a voice note on Instagram pretending to be multiple people. He basically made like a voice note track of him cussing me out. At least that's what I think, that's what it sounds like, and that's what other people said it sounds like, because surely there isn't a group of men sitting there cussing out a girl that doesn't want to meet this rapist.
Are you little badders, bruv?
Little dirty stinking hoe.
Hey, you little dirty badders. I man know.
What, you think I don't know your history?
I man know about you.
Trust me. So allow yourself.
Little dirty scrums. Scrums! Man, know your history, you know.
When I got that voice note, I was dying because I couldn't believe someone could be so pathetic to do that. Who does that? This guy is tapped. So I decided to post up all the messages, the voice notes, etc. that he was sending me on my Instagram, and he went nuts, threatening me and saying I need to delete it. Delete what, please? So by this point, I'd already called my kid's dad, I'd called my best friend, I'd called a few other people to let them know the situation. So they're like, cool, let him come. Start getting bare people messaging me. It turns out that I know a lot of people that know him. And even loads of people that I don't know were reaching out to me to tell me about him as well. So what I found out is that this waste man used to get bullied. And I can't say for certain that that's why he targets women and victimizes them and R-words them and abuses them and does all kinds of stuff to them. But it would make sense. Either that or he's just the spawn of... Who knows? We'll never know. But after I posted up the screenshots with his number, some girl I know called him. I don't know why. I don't know what she was saying to him. But I'm guessing she... Do you know, I don't even know why she called him. Anyway, she tells me that he's acting like a victim and he's saying that I'm angry with him because I asked him for money. What? Now, I called the phone number, which happens to be his phone number on private number, and he just assumes that it's her. He starts talking to me like I'm her, and he's like, oh, yeah, she keeps calling my phone. She's harassing me. She's threatening me. Like, he starts acting like he's the victim. So at first, I just let him waffle a little bit so I could hear what nonsense he was going to say. But I could only listen to so much bullshit. And I ended up just cussing him out. Clearly, when he saw me walking with my kids, he made the assumption that I was a vulnerable single mother who couldn't defend herself. He clearly thought he could intimidate me. And I just know that he thought I didn't have any men around to protect me as well. So while we're basically like arguing on the phone, I said to him, come, if you're bad, come. Let's see if you're bad for man the way how you're bad for women. Obviously, I didn't want this man turning up outside my kids' school or anywhere near where I live. But like I said before, being passive and acting scared only gives people like him the feeling of power. So I knew he wasn't going to turn up, but if he did, it would have been a very long day for him. He never ended up turning up. But my ego couldn't let that slide. I called his phone on private number and I was like, I thought you were bad. I thought you was going to do me something. Understand, this waste man was with his friend, telling his friend that I'm harassing him and I'm threatening him because I asked him for money. Again, with the money. Are you all right? And he posts on his story on Instagram basically saying that I asked him for money and just other rubbish. I don't even know how he came up with that story, but it's laughable because have you seen this done? Firstly, he's driving the busiest of bangers. He looks like he ain't months or years. He looks... If anything, he is the one that looks like he would be begging people for money. What money? Where? Where is the money that you speak of? Of course, anyone with half a brain would know that it is complete bull. But then there are people who just want an excuse not to believe women and will side with men regardless of how ridiculous their lies are and how obvious their lies are. They'll still side with them. So then he starts messaging me on a new Instagram account, pretending to be his manager. He's claiming that he's reported me to the police for harassment. He's also told other people that his girl reported me to the police for stalking him. His manager, Gemma, says that they're going to report me to the intelligent team. The grammar was all over the place, so you know that is him. This Don really struggles to put together a coherent sentence. Anyway, I emailed my kids' school with his pictures, the messages, etc. So they know. So yeah, I contacted my kids' school and let them know the situation just in case he did turn up at the school. Now, remember I said that loads of people started contacting me when I put up my story on Instagram. I swear to God, everything my intuition told me was correct. I'm not going to post the messages between myself and these women because obviously they are entitled to privacy. It's not my place to force anyone to come out and speak up about their experiences. I wish I could go into detail about every single thing this guy's done, but I feel like there's certain things that it's just not really my place to say. And plus, I don't want him connecting the dots and then going to abuse said women because he knows that it came from that person or it's about that person. But I'm going to give you guys a general idea of the things that he's done, and this has been confirmed to me by the police. So yeah, to all the idiots in my comments saying, why didn't you call the police? You must have liked it, blah, 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 blah. I did speak to the police, actually. I did. So this guy's name is... Side note, I'm just being petty, but I cannot stand Taurus men. And when I found out he was a Taurus, I was just like, But to be honest, that has nothing to do with it. Not all Taurus men are like that. I'm just saying. He lived in Jamaica for a period of time, and now he goes between London, Bristol, and Cardiff. The first time that he was arrested for R-wording someone was when he was either 14 or 15. In other words, he's been doing this for over 20 years. He's been arrested for R-wording women multiple times. Now, that article that's on BBC News where they're looking for him, I don't know what he did, but he's managed to get them to change it to say that he ended up getting found not guilty. So on that occasion where he R-worded the girl and it was reported on BBC News, without going into too much detail, he basically forced his way into her home and did that. I don't know how, but he's managed to bust several R-word cases, and several women who he's R-worded and abused have dropped the charges against him because people don't believe them. And he intimidates them into dropping them. He doesn't just R-word random women. He R-words women that he's in a relationship with as well. He has an extensive history of beating women. And when I say beating women, I mean he has broken bones. He's beaten up women while they're holding their children, and he's permanently damaged women from R-wording them. So as well as all the things that I mentioned previously that he's done to women, he's also very manipulative and mentally, emotionally, and psychologically abusive. I've actually noticed a pattern in his behavior that I'm going to try to outline as best I can. I'm not a qualified psychologist yet, but I would say that his behavior aligns with antisocial personality disorder. So I've noticed that he tends to go for women that appear to be vulnerable. Not every time, because he's a little bit scatty at times, but a lot of the time, especially the women that he ends up getting into relationships with. He tends to target women that have children because, you know, having children does unfortunately make you more vulnerable because you can't just act in a certain way. You have to always consider your children's safety, and it also makes you more vulnerable to threats. He tries to sweet talk the women and manipulate them into letting him come to their house every time. Now, I don't think I mentioned this before, but this man is homeless. He has no home. What he does is he sofa surfs from woman to woman's house. He is essentially a hobosexual. But once someone allows him to come into their home, he basically starts to take over and try to control the person. The women who decline his nonsense offers and refuse him coming to their houses always end up being verbally abused. And the women who do allow him to come to their homes end up basically being prisoners. I've also noticed that the girls who seem to me to be more like passive and really sweet girls tend to be the ones that he abuses the worst. And I feel like it's because people like him thrive off that power. They thrive off the feeling of dominating their victim. In no way am I saying it's the women's fault, because it's not. And there's no reason for any woman to feel like she has to be aggressive or isn't able to be loving or sweet just to protect herself from a sick person like him. All right, so let's get into this waste man's claims that I'm lying now. By the way, I'm going to put all these clips together and put it up on my YouTube channel, Candicia Creations, because TikTok took down part 4 and they might just take down the rest. I don't know. Firstly, if I'm lying, please explain why there's a whole BBC News article with his face, his name. Did I go back 10 years ago and post that article myself? And if I'm lying, explain the hundreds of women that have come forward with similar stories. On my TikTok alone, we have over 20 women saying that they've had similar experiences with him. On my Instagram, I've had over 20 women DMing me saying that either they or someone they know has been R-worded or abused by this man. And this is just today. How do you think I know so much about this guy? How do you think I know where this guy stays? When I originally posted about him in 2019, I had a shitload of women come forward to tell me about him. Men too, but the men were saying he was a waste man. All the women said that he's abusive, he's an S offender, that he doesn't take no for an answer. Basically the same stories. If you're a woman who's dealing with him right now, go to the police and ask them to disclose his background information regarding abuse under Clare's law. If you don't believe me now, you sure as hell will when you hear what the police have to say. Furthermore, do you people who believe this really think that hundreds of women from different places, London, Bristol, Cardiff, I don't know if Eli's in Cardiff or not, but I keep reading that name. Do you really believe that all of us women have somehow banded together to come after this waste man? We've come up with this elaborate plan to make false allegations against this waste man. For what? What am I gaining? What am I gaining? Apply some common sense. The wickedest thing is, this man isn't even charming. He doesn't come across as a nice person. He literally waves his red flags in front of everyone's face. And he doesn't have a single shred of evidence about anything he's saying about me or anyone else. But still, there's desperate, pathetic pick-me's defending this guy. I understand his waste man friends taking up for him and lying for him and covering for him because they're the same as him. But you lot should surely have some sense. I've been on a couple of his lives where he's muted me every single time. And I've seen people, especially women, saying, why is she only coming out about this now? She's a liar. Well, let me break this down for you. And so firstly, just to be clear, I originally tried to spread awareness about this man in 2019 when I first met him. I posted on Instagram, Twitter, and some Facebook groups as well. And loads of women came forward. I posted about him again in 2020, and I even had a whole section of my Instagram dedicated to this waste man to warn women. So no, I'm not just coming out about it now. And even if I was, so what? You don't get to tell people when they can talk up about things that they've experienced or when they can warn other women. I've spread awareness about this waste man several times. The reason why I decided to do this whole little TikTok series on him today, or since yesterday, is because the other day I was minding my business, scrolling through my TikTok, and his big ugly head pops up. I'm not gonna lie, the fact that this waste man had the audacity to be on TikTok live rapping with his little waste man friend irritated the hell out of me, especially because I could see loads of women in the comments. So of course, me being me, I had to comment and say something to try to warn these women, because if it was me, I wouldn't want to unknowingly support a predator. Do you know what response I got? They called me a liar. They defended him. They said he doesn't need to explain himself. Obviously, him and his friend kept muting and blocking me. No one wanted to listen. And this man was saying I'm a liar, I'm a hater. But I could tell from the second he read my comment, he was like a deer in the headlights. This man started shuffling. I told them I was going to make a video, and I told them that I'm going to put up the evidence. And that's exactly what I've done. Purpose for me making these videos is to spread awareness. I know not everybody's gonna believe me, but if it prevents at least one woman from becoming another victim of his, then I'm okay with that. I'm not gaining anything from this. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm exhausted mentally, physically. I have an assignment due in a couple days. I'm tired and I have responsibilities. This is not fun for me. But there is no way in hell that I'm going to see this man acting like a normal human being when he's literally destroyed the lives of so many women and say nothing. I'm not that type of person. So anyway, if you've been R-worded, abused or anything by this man, please don't hesitate to message me. My Instagram is the same as my TikTok name. I will gladly offer as much support as my energy will allow and as much